the concept of autonomy doesn't um, it doesn't contain within it the right to just completely ignore how my autonomy impacts the people around me, my choices.
Say that again
Yeah, right.
for everybody in the back.
So just because I have autonomy doesn't mean I'm not responsible for the acts that I take out
Yeah.
of my
And
autonomy
how they impact other
and
people.
how they impact other people. Right.
Welcome to Playing with Fire, the podcast for people who are ready to custom build their love.
We're talking about non-monogamy, however you design it, as an individuation opportunity.
Want to leave the default and make your life spectacularly you? You're in the right place. Ken, it's time to talk about something that used to make you jump right out of your skin. Let's talk about secrets and privacy.
Yep.
I say used to because I think you do a fantastic job these days and these days, I mean, like for the last decade, you've really done a fantastic job of getting clear on the difference between secrecy and privacy. And I would love to talk to you about this because you used to be, in fact, I remember one of our very earliest romantic evenings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you came in, you found me sleeping by a fire. I had a fire lit in the pellet stove there, and I was all cozy. I was all cozied up to it. And you woke me out of a very light sleep. And I said to you, "You're a secret keeper." As like I was coming out of a dream, I said
Yep.
that to you. And I had no idea where it came from. And you didn't seem to know where it came from. And then the next 2.5 years played out.
Yeah.
And I think we
Yep.
learned where
And that was accurate. And the trouble that I had with the concepts, all the concepts underlying privacy and secrecy and transparency, um, are why I know this is a valuable topic. It took me
Yeah.
a while to figure out how to navigate this.
Yeah, so I started with that story because that appeared to be one of those times when I got like direct information from Psyche that
Yeah.
like, oh, something like this is something you should be aware of. But I want to be clear, I didn't even get it in like a this is dangerous sort of way. The felt sense I had about this was be aware. This person keeps secrets. But I also got the felt sense of, hey, this person will be a vault, will hold your truths and will not just share them everywhere. Now, I mean, the same can't be said for me, obviously, because I'm the one that talked you into this, where you just keep sharing your truths so transparently. And I
Yeah.
know that was a big, like, fear of yours a long time ago. Clearly,
Yeah.
you've done some
One of
work on
those,
it.
one of those unconscious fears. Wasn't like I walked around worried people were going to find out about me. It's just that my habits and my approaches to how I related came from a place of secrecy.
Yeah. So secrecy. Well, how would you define it?
Okay, I'm not going to look at your definition. Secrecy is uh, withholding information
Mhm.
that would impact someone else and affect their whatever.
Yeah,
That
it
would
would affect
affect
their
them.
decisions,
Yeah,
their ability to
decisions.
consent.
Hmm.
It might impact how they would act, right? Yeah, that's exactly how I would define secrecy, right? That it's the withholding of information. And I'm going to add something else to it because as a depth psychologist, I take the unconscious very seriously. I can also keep secrets from myself.
Oh,
But
sure.
that's not but using that as a defense, this gets really, really tricky really quick.
Hmm.
There were plenty of things that you kept as secret from me that caused harm. They caused consent violations and they robbed me of my decision making autonomy. Like I didn't, and I know that you didn't actually know your truth yourself because you were
Right.
really good at allowing yourself to be fragmented, to be splintered internally and have multiple realities where
Yeah.
two mutually exclusive realities could coexist. And this was very dangerous for me. Like
Yes, it was.
I fucked my life up around a whole bunch of things that were said to me that were not true in all of your realities. And I know that you didn't even know you were doing it.
And I remember the sense of helplessness I would get when when these situations would come up and you'd be like, "Hey, this I needed to know this and you needed to tell me." And I'd
Yeah,
be
when it
like,
would become transparent for because
yep.
time had passed and
What
things had
yep."
happened.
I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't know." And the sense of having caused harm from a part of me that I didn't even understand felt like what do I do?
Right.
It was very uncomfortable.
So, a way that we found evidence, and actually the way that you had a breakthrough around this, because this is very very tricky. I just want to be clear. This is incredibly challenging. But first off, you believed me when I said I see inconsistency here, and I'm worried. I'm worried because I don't know whether I can actually be in agreements with you, because as time is passing and I'm seeing what's happening, it you are not you're not providing me like consistent reliable information, and
Yeah,
that's scary. So first off, you believed me that it was scary. You didn't just take my word for it, like as in that I remembered. I didn't know. I didn't know what it was that you were withholding, but you did believe me that there was some kind of inconsistency happening, and that I had started to need to put you into the category of an unreliable reporter. I
right.
was nervous. And the other thing is, you started doing something that was so powerful and I know scared the pants off of you at the time. You started bringing a notebook with you and taking notes while you would talk to your different partners. Taking
Mhm.
notes of what, so you were, this wasn't about you making like promises or agreements, like this wasn't an agreement making process with someone else. This was you started taking notes about what you were saying
Yeah.
to each of us.
Yep.
And it was pretty wild to watch how you came to actually like to confront your inner multiplicity and the way that you were able to hide your different selves from yourself. And you are not, I want to be clear, this is not a psychological diagnosis. I am not suggesting that you are in any way like you are not suffering from a psychological breakdown.
Right.
You
Nope.
had created, though, what we've come to refer to as bifurcated monogamy,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
two
This is
monogamous ecosystems.
I will be one person over there for that person, and then I will come back to this to the first person and be someone else.
Yeah,
And when I did that, right, I would not keep track of the difference. I would let go
right.
of a bunch of the stuff that I had said and things that I had learned.
Right. And what happened over the first like 18 months of this was I was suspicious. Things kept feeling like they weren't adding up, but I was mostly only gaining this information like, well, I would talk to my metamor and I would see like and things just wouldn't work out. Like we'd see these like different realities kind of clashing
Yep.
in the real world. But you appeared to truly honestly be like, no, this like you believed both of these truths. And it wasn't until later when you started having even more autonomous conversations with each of us because we stopped living together as a triad and moved out into separate living situations where you started actually noticing and started writing down for yourself and not noticing whether I said, you weren't writing down what I was saying or what
Right.
she was saying. You were writing down what you were saying and then allowing yourself to look like very clearly at the discontinuity. They did not, the things that were getting said were not able to sort of transition with you. And you had actually fragmented your own reality. And no one, I couldn't show that to you because I was a biased participant. You showed it to yourself.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and at first I thought of it as a kind of dissociation
well, I think
that
it,
I
it is a kind of dissociation. I think that's
and
a, yeah,
what's interesting about it is how I could record it
yeah.
and then retrieve what happened that way. Um,
But you couldn't just remember
I
it.
couldn't remember it.
And
but
then
I
call it
could
back up.
write it in the moment and then call it back up that way. And it was an interesting exercise in learning about how I kept secrets. Because I mean, it was a kind of a defense mechanism
Right.
of the incompatible relationships that I had.
Right.
There
It
were
was
elements that were incompatible, and I was right up against them. And rather than deal with them, I buried them. And then I
and
started to unbury them.
I so I have such compassion for the reality that you found yourself in, where you had created a life where you you didn't even know that you were experiencing this fragmentation, and we were like that system. It was incompatible. Not all relational systems dynamics fit together
Yeah,
in one ecosystem. They don't, and that doesn't mean that any of the individual dyads or uh, are bad, but they don't all fit. It is possible for you to find yourself in a position where, oh, these don't all fit, and one of the ways we can see that is our secrets being kept.
right.
And often we look at the secrets, like what secrets are being kept from each partner. But what I found so very, very it was a move that helped me understand that you were moving with the most integrity you knew how to at the time was you
Yeah,
started writing things down
yeah,
and started taking your own responsibility for coming into integrity and recognizing that the secret keeping wasn't just about what am I telling this partner and this partner. It was about what you were keeping from yourself
yeah.
in order to not look at the fact that you had an incompatible relational ecosystem at that point. And no one no one could have done for you what you did for yourself. I mean, it matters to me so much that you did that, even if we weren't sitting here now in the relationship that we are in now. Back then, I think about this. So this started to happen about 3 years into the relationship. I started seeing you take notes and tracking things more consistently, and that went on for a couple of years longer. And it was a little bit like watching you, um, it was like you were becoming yourself. There was
Yeah,
this like version of you who was no longer shielded, and I feel like it was when I finally got to actually start to know you,
yeah.
the you who was going to do things like disappoint me and frustrate me, but honestly,
But
you were going to
honestly,
share your limits and boundaries honestly.
and what I feel out of that time was that I was learning how to stay in integrity with myself, which is sort of in line with what you were just saying. And there's so much more to it than that simple statement, because one of the things that changed was I started to take the words I said seriously,
Mm.
because I hadn't. My life was very loose in terms of language and how I represented myself. I'd say whatever, and I would always leave these escape hatches in every sentence that I said, so that I could always have some way to defend myself if things didn't go well. And the result was nobody knew anything about who I actually was. And so by keeping that secret, both from myself and from everybody else, the secret, that was me.
Mm. That
And
makes that makes a ton of sense to me, especially now. I mean, I know the people who knew you when,
yeah,
and I know like the version of you today that I know. This um, not perfect. Not perfect. I
oh
don't want to
no,
put you on a pedestal, but you are very integrated and
yeah,
differentiated, which is that's the work, right? To be a
yeah,
differentiated individual who also has an integrated sense of selfhood. Um, and you are um, you're annoying and you're irritating
I'm vexing.
and you vex. There is not a day that goes by that you do not vex me, sir.
That's right. Yep.
And um and you're you. So when you vex me, I know that it's you being you,
Yeah.
and that has rebuilt trust that not only was there like real reason for me not to trust you, but also um you didn't know how to get out of that. You built a way out of it. Like you brick by brick built your way out of that by building a more coherent you.
Right. Yeah.
And so I can hear you, I can see you, and the people who knew you when, they don't know that version of you. Like so these aren't people who are in your life day to day now. And I see you at events or, family things or whatever. And I see the way that they interact with you. And I'm like, they have no idea who he is. They
Yeah.
don't like, what was that sentence? And I sometimes feel like interrupting. I don't, but sometimes feel like interrupting and just being like, I, you're talking to a version of him who existed 20 years ago. You've done the work. And this work of making yourself transparent to you,
Yeah.
it is profound work. And when people ask me, like, what is it? What is the work of individuation? It's different for everybody because we are all becoming who we are as
Yeah.
individuals. That was a huge part for you. It was such an important step. And I'm so grateful that you took it in the face of, by the way, a shitload of pain. Because I remember watching you facing the relational incompatibility and the lies that you were telling.
Yes.
Because
Yep.
there's the thing. We haven't said that word yet.
Yep.
What it came down to was you would lie because
Yep.
you would say two absolutely mutually exclusive truths. These weren't just like, oh, two things can be true at a time. Nope, they were just flat
Yep.
out
Yep.
lies. And eh, to be able to reclaim like your sense of you, so that I could learn to trust you and that others could learn to trust you. And so you could learn to trust you.
Right. Yep.
That's some heavy lifting.
It is heavy lifting. And the so we talk about individuation
Mhm.
and um, learning to work with our shadow. The shadow being, all the things that we're not consciously aware of, or you might say all the things you keep secret from yourself.
Yeah.
And so over the years, I've been digging up my secrets, and some of them were good. Some of them were. It was like that's a
Yeah.
good thing about me, and some of them were like, oh, I didn't want that to be true. But the longer I tried to pretend that it wasn't, the longer I kept secret from myself that I'm not very good at, um, I don't know, finding things or, you know, I don't
Choosing
know,
between two
choosing. Oh
binary
boy, yep.
options. Yeah.
There are all these things, and okay, I don't like that about myself. Oh well, not liking it doesn't change it. And you said integrated. Yeah. And so I let them be part of me. And all of a sudden I was able to stand in one place, say one thing, remember what it was, and interact with the world. Very different situation than it was before.
And I just want to say there are going to be a bunch of people listening who are like, how the hell else would you live, Ken?
Right? Yep.
And then there are going to be people who are like, uh-oh, I think I just heard someone describe my lived
Right.
experience and I'm scared right now. So if you're in the first category, yeah, that's actually how some people experience their life. And all of that was in response to those were your strategic,
Yeah.
unconscious, protective choices. Like they were choices, but they weren't things you consciously did. They were protective.
Yeah.
Another way to put that would be their trauma responses. And this isn't to necessarily capital T trauma, but all the little times that you were overwhelmed or misunderstood, that you couldn't handle it, you developed this way, and you hid, yeah, you're right, all the gold as well as all
Yep.
of the negative shadow. I'm really glad I get to know you now, but it does bring in the reality that there were a lot of lies. So there was a lot
Yep.
of repair to be done, not just with your partners, but also with yourself.
Yeah.
And I watch you still doing this. Like there was a whole period of time where you would get very frustrated if I like if I s- if you remembered something and I remembered it differently, you would get very
It
frustrated.
would really activate me. Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Well, okay, let's just verify. And then you'd get more activated because you so badly
Yep.
wanted to believe that you could remember the truth. And I saw you make a huge breakthrough when you realized, oh, I need to verify. I just need to. I can't only rely on my memory. I need to also look for external sources. Um, it's that's the work of getting to know you that also lets you come into relationship with others and help them know you. So now I know that about you. So I know not to over assert that I know better than you just because I might remember something better, but to help you verify and say, I like we need to write these things down,
Yep.
or hey, let's turn to an external source, or maybe somebody else was here and remembers what was going on.
Yep. And
You were
when
pretty hard on yourself during that
I
time.
was very hard on myself. Yes, I was. And if I were to go back and talk to that guy, I would tell him, so these secrets or the things that other people are considering secrets, because at the time I wasn't really like, I'm not withholding anything, I'm not hiding anything, but I'm not in relation with me that way. So other people, you would be like, why is this, why didn't you tell me? Why is this a secret? And I would actually start there. I would tell them, go write down why you kept it secret.
Mm.
If you can't come up with a reason, just go from there. Then pull it up. If you can come up with a reason, you can work with that.
It's so I hear you coming into an inner dialogue. So you
Yeah.
were dialoguing with yourself to
Yep.
see what's going on.
Yeah.
But also I hear that you were grounding into the idea that you could come to know the reality, that you could come to know why you were keeping this secret. And over time, one of the things I saw you come back to over and over again is that you just really wanted things to be nice, like to go gently.
Yep.
But we had a really chaotic and loud life that had a lot of grindy bits to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't always going gently and it wasn't always quiet. And so like to hide that, I can get why you'd hide those things. You'd lie, you'd soften things to make things just go nice and go smooth.
Yeah.
But then the big picture, you would have to face, oh, but this does
But
grind. This
yeah.
doesn't work. Another place where I saw you struggle was around privacy because then like the overcompensation to okay, no secrets can turn into I can't have any privacy.
Right.
And and that I mean that doesn't work either, right? I you deserve privacy. I deserve privacy. We all
Yep.
deserve privacy. And so, from my perspective, privacy is about having shared meaning about what is shared and what is kept um, to myself or what is kept to between me and someone else and having some really truly like shared meaning around that because that supports individual dignity, right? Like I get to be in my dignity because yes, there is clarity that I have that there is information that you might not be privy to, but it won't be harmful to you. And it's about like
Yeah.
getting clear on can I tell the difference? Can I tell the difference between the stuff that would hurt
Right.
you and the stuff that won't?
Which
And
is where shared meaning comes into play because I need your input on that.
yeah, well, we need to
Yeah.
co-create it. And
Yep.
I think this is where the difference between secrets and privacy also really stands out to me as something that as a hinge partner, you especially need to have this. We really need to have it. If you are a secret keeper by nature, if you're resonating with the Ken's described experience there, hinging's probably pretty hard. And you probably feel very strongly about having your partners be parallel to each other
Yeah. Yep.
because it's terrifying to think about how you might be exposed. And but I hear some people defend against that by saying, "No, I just want privacy." You can have privacy and still be in consensual agreement about the categories of information that are shared and not shared. And we can create that across multiple relationships. But it takes a level of like nuanced exploration. It doesn't happen overnight. And if the hinge partner is holding all of that, um, I get nervous. It's easy to convince ourselves that, oh, they don't really need to know that. And so this is where now I want to also step out to the level of meta communication. We need to talk about how we talk. We need to
Yes,
talk about how we share information. We need to talk about what helps one person feel safe through transparency and what another person feels safe through having privacy. We have to have conversations about that. And in a multi-person relational ecosystem, it gets complicated. It
it
does.
does.
And as a hinge, to have a lot of responsibility for communicating across partnerships. It's not easy.
And those meta conversations are very, very important. They certainly were for me. Um, Early in our relationship, when we started having those conversations, I had at least two options available to me. One is to say, okay, I hear that you have particular standards and requirements for how we communicate. Yeah, I'm not doing that. That
Yeah.
doesn't work for me.
Yep.
One option was to, no, these strategies, they've worked for me and I'm going to keep them. At which
Right.
point,
At which
eh,
point I can opt in or out of the
yep.
relationship. And this is where I hear people say, well, but I want to be in relationship with them.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, then we have to find shared ground,
Right.
or we're not actually in mutuality. We're coercing each other into
Right.
relationship. Not all of us are going to be compatible with each other. That's
And
just true.
that is just true. And here's the thing. So my other option was to engage with you on what sort of communication do you require
Yeah. What are
for
my
this
bottom line
relationship to work? What are your bottom
requirements?
line
Need that.
requirements?
Yep.
And then I can say, oh, well, my relationship with you is important enough that I would like to learn those skills.
Yeah.
So I started learning them, and I did not learn them right away, which
No,
meant
it
that
took a few years.
it took a few years, which means there was a lot of trouble that came from it.
Yeah. And so, one of the values that we would talk about early on, and we still talk about quite a lot, that you sometimes use to defend secrecy was the value of autonomy, like the value
Right.
around autonomy, valuing emotional autonomy, bodily autonomy, which we do. That's a shared value for
Hmm.
us, but you would extend that into I want autonomy. And this isn't how you put it at the time, but essentially, you wanted the autonomy to make separate realities.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the
Right.
thing is, if we had had a less complex life, that might have been okay. I've had partnerships since that day where yeah, I don't mind that there are separate realities. Like
Yep.
there's enough separation. We don't see each other often enough. We don't need each other in certain ways. Like we haven't overlapped responsibilities.
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that. But we had created a deep interdependency.
Right.
And in doing so, saying I just want to prioritize autonomy became it was this pretty word used to cloak something
Yeah.
that was actually making it so I couldn't consent to be in the relationship I was in, but I
Right.
didn't know
And
it.
the
I didn't even realize I couldn't.
the fallacy of that particular argument. Hey, but I want my autonomy. I want my autonomy in how I communicate. That's essentially it. It's like taking option one. Well, but this is how I'm going to do it because I have autonomy. Well, you have autonomy too, and you can say, well, great, then I don't want to be in this relationship.
Right.
Um, so the fallacy
And the
was that,
more
but we're in the relationship and that's set.
right,
So
that's all like it's already set and it
now I'll
can't
apply my
change.
autonomy and you just have to live with it
Right, which
because
basically means
relationship.
we did not provide informed consent.
Right.
And informed consent has to be ongoing, but also the more interdependent your lives become,
Hmm.
the harder it becomes. There were years where my life was it would have been uh devastating times 100. to extricate myself during those early years, because like that was going to mean losing at least temporary custody of my children. It was going to mean losing my house. It was going to mean like losing my house and being homeless. It was going to mean a lot of things. And
Big
so
changes.
again, it calls into question, could I actually consent? Because there was
Mhm.
also a huge power differential. We've talked about this stuff before, and some people have reflected, they're like, that it's so extreme. And I'm like, I hear stories not dissimilar to this
Yeah.
more frequently than we might like to remember. Power differentials are real. The way we accidentally or incidentally intertwine our lives and don't even realize how deep we've gotten, and the way life can just turn on a dime and things can change. These things happen, and I think we have to broaden the conversation to make sure that we're taking seriously that autonomy isn't just as simple as I get to have it and there. It's also it's about looking at, does everybody in this situation have autonomy, or are we prioritizing and valuing one person's over everybody else's, or do they just have more access to autonomy because they have more access to resources?
Right. The concept of autonomy doesn't um it doesn't contain within it the right to just completely ignore how my autonomy impacts the people around me, my choices.
Say that again
Yeah, right?
for everybody in the back.
So just because I have autonomy doesn't mean I'm not responsible for the acts that I take, yeah, out
Yeah.
of my
And
autonomy
how they impact other
and
people.
how they impact other people. Right.
That's fucking real.
That's real.
Okay. So I didn't know we were going to take this episode in this direction. I had come in planning to talk about something a little bit more general. So I want to just first say thank you to you for being so willing. You you blow me away week after week as you are so willing to own the destruction that has happened,
Yeah.
and how you have made things better by doing your work. And so when people say, "Are is your partner doing their work?" Y'all, this is what we mean. It's taking ownership of where harm has been caused, and then getting a getting the help and the supports and taking the actions that it takes to find your way out, to create your way out. This is a very long process. I would
Yeah.
say we were fully at year 7 before I started to feel it was 2016 before I fully felt like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It took a
I trust you to be consistent and to answer in consistent ways, because also I've watched you. I've seen you implementing the supports and the scaffolding you need to not fall into the traps of fear-based withholding,
mhm.
um, or avoiding those hard conversations, or protecting yourself from your own discomfort.
That's it. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, that's just my own discomfort. Nothing more important than that. And the result can be big harm. And I appreciate you pointing out that I'm willing to bring all my stuff out this way. And my hope is that other people who are finding themselves in similar situations will see that it's not written in stone. You can you can decide what you're going to do with all these feelings. Um, the work is not impossible.
The work is not impossible, but it does take showing up. It's also it's in the details.
Yeah.
It's in the actually picking up that notebook and carrying it to every conversation you
Yep.
had with each of your partners
Yeah.
for years.
It's not. It's not.
It was in
It's not like Avengers hero
it's
work
not
where you do
sexy.
one big thing and you're done. It's
Yeah.
little things all the time. Very, very different.
I'm so grateful that you've done it, but also really grateful that you'll talk about it, um, because it reminds me so much that it's okay to be in the process of becoming who I mean to be in the world. To me, that's why I find you to be one of the most deeply, um, in integrity. I don't know what the right verb is for that. You are a person of integrity. And I saw the look on your face when I said that. But
Well,
the reason I find you to be in integrity is because I have known you not in integrity,
mm,
and I have watched you haul yourself back into the light. And I know that if I catch you out on things that like, oh, he's slipping, I know that you have the tools and the willingness to participate in your own becoming again, to get back into the practice of, yep, this is one of your shadow areas. This is shadow work for you. It is very specific to you.
yep,
You're
this
also
is
not alone.
it's mine, but other people might have it too. Yeah.
And you've been so willing to participate in it, and you believing yourself that, yep, that this is both true about you, that secrecy and that fragmenting of realities is a true thing that can happen to Ken Hamilton, and Ken Hamilton knows how to find the way out. And that makes it possible for me to trust you in a way that honestly I didn't think was possible. If you'd asked me years and years ago, I didn't know. And that's the work of showing up day after day and doing what it is, like whatever it is, whatever your work is.
So built into all of this whole discussion is that starting point where the difference between our experiences of secrecy and privacy caused massive friction. And I want
Yeah,
to,
I had different definitions from you, different expectations than
yep.
you. Yep.
And I want to go back to what we were talking about, those meta conversations. The more we know about those differences, the more we can deal with things before they become great big ruptures.
Oh, of course. And this is where, as you started doing your work in the early years, one of the things that you started doing really well before you fixed this, before you really addressed this, you started dismantling your defensiveness.
Oh, yeah, right.
And as you dismantled being defensive, like, no, 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 this is my way, I have to do this, or
Hmm.
getting into your own head and saying, well, but this is because of how I've been hurt, or like, and you owned it. You simply started owning the action. We have another episode on dismantling defensiveness, but you've done, I think that episode and this one go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do.
Actually, I'd add one more, the weasel words
No.
episode. Well,
Yeah.
this is like
Yep.
how Ken Hamilton came to be. I love this. I
Yep.
love it. This is like a little
How to
it's a
build a
little
modern
coming
day Ken Hamilton.
it's like a coming of age story of your being, your mature, wise, generative adult self.
Uh-huh.
We could put you in the little Ken box. Like, you
Yep.
can, yeah, you're nailing it. You're nailing being just Ken. Way to
Perfect.
go. I really appreciate you being a good sport about this conversation that just came out of left field and you weren't expecting, because
Nope,
that is
this
not what we had planned
no,
for today's episode.
but we have the conversations that it's time to have.
Thanks, babe.
Thank you.
You've done the work, the therapy, the reflection, the breakthroughs, and still some things feels unfinished. What if you're not stuck? What if instead you're standing at the threshold of transformation, but you don't yet know the language to describe what you're going through? I'm Dr. Jolie Hamilton, Jungian psychologist and guide in the work of individuation. In the Inner Alchemy series, we'll journey through the 4 phases of transformation. Nigredo, the dissolution. Albedo, the awakening. Citrinitas, the embodiment. Rubedo, the radiance. Because you were never meant to fix yourself. You were meant to find yourself. You are the alchemist, and your life is the laboratory.